Three, two, one. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel with me, the Eagle reviewer slash reactor. So happy to be back with you guys. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about the movie Anaconda 2025. I feel like I should specify the year as well, just in case there was any confusion about which one I was discussing. But of course, I did a trailer reaction to it some time back. I didn't discuss it just because it was a quick little short thing, so I thought, just watch it so we can share the funny scenes, that were expected to be in it. And then the rest, I was like, all right, I just want to be surprised by the movie itself and see what happens next. So I saw the official trailer and then the final trailer, which is the one I reacted to. Everything else I was blind about. I did see some of the interviews between Jack Black and Paul Rudd and the ones that Jack Black did separately, but that was about it. Those the interviews didn't reveal too much about the plot, the ones that I watched anyways. They were about them doing separate stuff. But anyways, let's dive right into reacting to this movie. So of course, the rule is first I'm going to discuss what happens, and second I'm going to share my thoughts, my review, and all of that. And if that sounds good to you guys, then consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel. Doing all that really helps me out. All right, let's begin. So the movie's opening scene starts off with we see this character. We don't know what her name is yet. We do find out eventually that her name is Anna, and she's with a couple of other people who are veering off into the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, right? We don't really know too much about what it's about, but we know that this territory is very dangerous, that, there's a lot of big snakes that are free and on the loose, a lot of anacondas floating around, right? And then, of course, we get the title card drop shortly after. And yeah, a few scenes later, we meet Paul Rudd, who plays Griffin Jr. in this movie, or just simply call him Griffin. Did we ever find out what his last name was? I don't know. Yeah, it didn't feel like this movie had a super high budget, so there aren't too many really characters you need to focus on. But I'll get to that in a second. So we see him, and we find out that he's preparing for some role that he's in because he's on this show. And I believe, what was it? Okay, yeah. He was trying on a bunch of different accents, right? And the director wasn't happy with the performance that he was giving in because I believe he was at a hospital, right? And then the doctor, the actor playing the doctor, I don't think we knew what his name was, but he's getting ready to say his lines, and each time like Paul Rudd just tries to do different things. I keep saying Paul Rudd. I just want to call him Paul Rudd, man. Griffin is trying to do different things, and so yeah, director's not happy, and eventually I think like he may have gotten fired from the role. Yeah, so he's currently in Hollywood in LA. His childhood long dream was to be an actor, to get some big roles, but he's only landed small part-time things, so he never really got his dream fulfilled. We also know that he has a friend, Doug McAllister, right? So for him, we do know what his last name is. And Doug McAllister is played by Jack Black, of course. He lives in a fairly decent house. He has a fairly decent, solid B plus life. I think I should mention that portion as well. And he edits wedding videos, right? If you do a wedding, then there's going to be some people who have the cameras, want to do all that festive sort of stuff. So that's sort of his department. His lifelong goal was to be a filmmaker in Hollywood, but that didn't really pan out for him. So he's, I guess, doing the next best thing, which in his mind, he calls films, but in the end, wedding videos is what he really does. And just trying to incorporate a lot of things into the wedding videos, like doing these like scary, long things like jumps. He really loves these big jumps. He wants to incorporate them because he's a fan of, I guess, these like horror or jump scare elements. He's the white Jordan Peele. No, I'm kidding. If you watch the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, like he was just really wanting to do that, but he settled down with the he has a wife, he has a son, and I guess he's just living the closest life which he could have gotten, I guess. So yeah, that is what's going on there, and we also know that these two are still friends. They're still in touch with each other. So Griffin surprises Doug because he had a surprise birthday party celebration. First, he was out there with his wife, I guess. They're about to get beers or something, but that's not what ended up happening. So um, Griffin threw Doug. I forgot how old he was turning, but he threw him a surprise birthday party celebration. And they have two other friends who were also there, who I guess they also knew from high school. Um, there was Carlos Santiago, played by Selton Mello, and Claire Simons, played by Thandi Newton. Well, that's how you say her name. So, they used to like make short films together, I guess, when they were kids. Because I remember, like, later on in the birthday party, Griffin had a recording of one of the films they made when they were kids earlier on. And that was, I guess, his birthday present because apparently Doug mentioned that all the copies were pretty much lost or they didn't have them anymore. But apparently Griffin had one. He had the DVD thing. Was it attached to the what do you call those things? VHS tapes, right? I forgot. Because I'm assuming I don't know. Maybe been in the 80s or something when they did it, and I'm assuming like 30 years have probably passed since then. So something around there, right? And so yeah, they watch it. Of course, it's very cringe, very funny stuff going on. Like, a bunch of sort of slapstick comedy elements are in there. And then I believe there was some sort of animal as well. It was like a bear or something. I'm not sure how they did that part, but yeah, um, that's what they enjoy doing. And so yeah, actually, if I remember correctly, um, yeah, Thandie Newton was the female lead for Mission Impossible 2. How did I not put that together? I'm not sure, right? Um, but yeah, no, it is. It is her. Yeah, it took me a minute just to realize that. And what's it? Yeah. So they watch it like the recording of the short film thing. I guess he made, or was it a show? I'm not sure. So yeah, I guess they get to relive some of their childhood moments and they get to enjoy it. And there were a lot of swear words, I think, in the thing they were watching, and then they bleeped it out, but they did it in a very weird and funny way. Because earlier they asked if it was safe for the kids to watch. I don't know if they're going for like an R rating, because again, R rating has changed its meaning from then to now. So I'm not sure. But I feel they had to have been at least teenagers when they did it. So middle schoolers or high schoolers. They were definitely not elementary school kids because that would have been even weirder. Um, but yeah, because I know like there were like there was still more to that recording, right? That his son was watching as well because he enjoyed watching it. I guess he didn't think his dad was a failure or disappointment. I mean, he had a fairly stable job, I guess. Like someone's gotta edit those wedding videos, right? I mean, it doesn't pay a lot, but it gets the job done, I guess. Eventually, though, I got to get to the plot point now, because this is all sort of the background stuff leading up to how the whole Anaconda thing needs to happen. One thing I want to say right away is I like that this movie is, for remove credits and all, around 90 minutes, because the pacing is perfect, right? I know some people are saying, they're tired of 2.5, 3 hour long films. They're like, where are the 90-minute films now? Because now it's just animated content, right? And again, 90 minutes isn't super fast either. It just means like we're not really wasting too much time or doing too much filler. I still felt like there was sort of some unnecessary stuff going on. I'll get to that in a little bit. But anyways, eventually Griffin tells Doug that he bought the rights to the movie Anaconda, and that they can make their own adaptation of it, which may have been like a lifelong dream because I guess they grew up watching the original, and this is something that they really wanted to do. And when I say original, I mean they are referring to the actual Anaconda from 1997, you know? So this is sort of a play sort of thing on that. And it's almost like the film is taking place within real life. Of course, there's fictional elements in it, like when they go to the bank to get a loan for the movie, but side thing there. Anyways, eventually, Doug is the more hesitant one in the film whenever like these big choices appear. At first, he's not entirely on board with the idea, but after some time passes, he realizes, so much time has passed. This was sort of my childhood dream to do a horror film like this. The opportunity's in the hand. I gotta go and take it. And his son is actually fairly proud. I think I really enjoy the son in this movie. He doesn't really do too much, but I feel like he plays a more important role just within the background. I don't think they gave him too many speaking lines. Neither did the wife get too many. Anyway, so to film the movie Anaconda, they have to head down to the Amazon rainforest in Brazil. But I believe that they shot the film, if you're wondering, in Australia, right? Now, where, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe that's where they filmed it. Actually, let me just find out right now. Where was Anaconda 2025 filmed? Okay, it was filmed in Queensland, Australia. And where was the original filmed? Just so I can tell. Okay, so they did film scenes like within the Brazilian Amazon, actually. And then, of course, California and Las Vegas, Nevada. So they did actually go down to Brazil, I guess. Because I know the original one is a lot more actual horror elements in it. So, yeah. Anyway, so the four of them head down there. So we have Doug, we have Griffin, we have Carlos, and we have Claire, right? The four friends, the squad, they're over there. Um, Doug's, I should also specify the roles. So Doug is the one writing and directing the film. Griffin is starring in it. He's supposed to be like the sort of ranger, I guess. Claire is supposed to be the female lead. And Carlos is also in the movie, I guess for comedic effects, maybe. Yeah, he actually did play some important roles. I should specify as well because um, he's able to get a hold of this really funny snake. What should I say? Snake handler. Or no, Carlos is the snake handler. What am I saying? Um, Kenny Trent is their fourth friend. So Doug, Griffin, Claire, and Kenny. Yeah. And then, so they get a hold of the snake handler, Carlos Santiago, right? And he's just super fond of snakes, right? Like, I think he likes them more than humans. He knows a lot about them. He describes them in, like, these very horrific ways. So, yeah, no, that is definitely going on as well. And I mean, that's what's going on there. And then, of course, there's people looking for them as well. I think, what was that guy's name? Paulo, played by Diego Arneri. Yeah, he's there looking for Anna, right? And she's also kind of snooping around here and there. At first, I thought they were doing this sort of Jurassic situation, Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, whichever one, where she was trying to save the snakes. Like, she was like a good person, and then Paulo was trying to like hunt or kill them or like track them down, maybe, and she was like trying to protect them. That is not at all what ended up happening. Okay, I was definitely wrong about that. Anyways, so the four of them land in Brazil, and they what's it? Right. Okay. So we have Doug who's writing, directing, Griffin who's starring, Claire's the female lead, and Kenny is also there for comedic effects. Right. He gets a hold of the snake handler Carlos, and he really enjoys them snakes. he shows them one of them who they can use for their movie, and I guess they wanted an actual sort of live snake as part of it. And yeah, they need to get onto the boat, but Anna's trying to take it first. She makes up this fake story about her father being in the hospital because she's trying to escape and get away from Paulo. And yeah, I believe there are like maybe gold mines or stuff down there, like maybe some smuggling's going on as well. But no, she's a thief. We find that out later on, so that's why she's trying to get on the boat and escape. But eventually, Doug and Griffin try to convince her that they need to get onto the boat because it's their childhood dream to film the movie and they really need to get on it. So she lets them on and she starts steering it and pretty much takes control of their destination while the four of them are able to secure their spot on the boat as well and start filming their movie. As it goes on, a few funny moments happen here and there, but so far things are working fairly well. The first funny scene we get is where Griffin, who's playing the ranger guy, is I guess the hero in the movie who's supposed to be brave and act super heroic, but as soon as the snake appears up close near his face, he starts getting super scared, and because he's like, oh, it's super big up close, so he's starting to get terrified, and eventually the snake dies because of him. Like he gets pushes out of the way, then it gets chopped up, and it dies. And oh my goodness, Carlos Santiago is very sad about that, because that snake was like his dear friend, one of the like most loved things he'd ever met, and he starts crying. I guess they do like some sort of funeral for it, and Griffin starts to feel bad. And I don't know what's going through Doug's mind. Like he's just super shocked at what's going on, and I feel bad for Claire. Like their movies sort of, this is kind of where it gets derailed because earlier they made a wish that everything works out perfectly to the movie gods, I guess, that hoping that they never listen to them, but they're hoping that almost everything works out perfectly. And I guess we'll find out what happens next, right? So Griffin starts to feel bad, so he goes to talk to Carlos, saying like, oh, he's sorry for his loss. He tries to sympathize, saying, I lost a dear friend of mine as well. Carlos asks him if it's a snake, the person he lost, which is super funny. Griffin says no, it was a human. And Carlos is like, man, you could find another human, I guess, but there aren't as many snakes. So Griffin tries to cheer him up. He gives him some beer and says, why don't we go look for a new snake that we can use? So they start venturing off into the forest, and I don't think they tell anyone, right? So they're just off on their own in the middle of the night. Of course, Anna's just out there doing her own things, I guess. And really, there's no bad guy in the movie. It's pretty much they put themselves in a place where they don't belong. Jurassic World Rebirth dialogue. That's where I stole that from. Just because there's a lot of dangerous animals out there. The snakes are really the only threat. There's no human threat in the movie, really, because that's who most of the bad people are. Well, and again, they're just out there doing basic survival instincts, so good guy, bad guy, it's all really up to your interpretation. Kind of like Jaws, but I would say that's sort of an exception, just because Jaws, incredible movie by Steven Spielberg, so... are the sharks really the bad guy? I mean, like, people hunt sharks, so, they're doing what they think is right. It's their territory. They claimed it. Just stay out of the way, So we are kind of sort of in this, I get like Jurassic vibes while I watch some of it, which is also another Steven Spielberg flick. So yeah, that is what's going on. And I believe when they're out there, of course, the people are also chasing them, right? So Griffin is looking for the snake, and eventually Carlos is in danger because he gets swept in and taken in by one, so he starts freaking out. I think he just disappears though. I don't because he's not sure if he's alive or not. He's just not able to find him anymore. But Griffin's worried because he knows there's danger out there, and he heads back to the boat where the rest of the crew is currently on. So it's late at night. He goes to Doug, explaining the situation, what happened, and Doug's like, "You went out there to find a new snake. You know what that's called, my man? Producing, right?" So, that's just a funny scene right there. But Griffin's like, "Nope, this is a very serious situation. This matter's gotten out of hand." And Doug tries to reassure him, saying, if Carlos doesn't show up after an hour or so, we can go look for him. Now, of course, a lot of time passes and he does not show up. So, presumably, he's died or he needs to go get found, right? So, they're thinking of trying to find him. So I believe Griffin goes to find him, and while doing so, right, while they start venturing out, I guess Anna is also there with them, right? Because that's when I guess Polo catches up to them and he's like shooting after them, like him and his crew. Because I know another guy, he just has like the small little raft thingy as well, right? And he's trying to see what's going on, right? Because he's starting to say, "Oh, there's all these people who are here who are doing the snake funeral, which happened earlier," and he's like making fun of them. They're starting to laugh, but I guess he dies because we don't see him later on. So again, getting those horror vibes starting to settle in. And eventually Doug starts to worry and wonder, like, are they doing the right thing? But he feels like we can't go back empty-handed now because he has like the world's best Doug trophy, I guess. So yeah, I mean his name is Doug, so maybe that means something more than world's best dad. No, he's world's best Doug. That title suits him. Yeah, there's no better Doug than him, eh? So, Anna's out there saving them and all, and they're like, "Wow, what's going on here?" And Anna tries to make up a story saying that these people who are after us are the bad guys, because they're thieves, they've claimed this territory as their own, and they'll shoot at anyone within hindsight. When in reality, she turns out to be the thief, but we'll get to that in a second. Eventually, they head back to the boat, realizing, okay, this is a very dangerous land. We should just stay here where it's safe. And Doug's like, wow, Anna's so awesome, What if we give her some roles, right? So, like, they start recording the scene where she first busts out into action and she whips out her gun, And he was like, why don't we give her more of the brave heroic role, right? Eventually, Griffin starts feeling left out of the movie because he's supposed to be the main heroic guy, and Claire starts to bring it up to him, saying, "Well, now what are we supposed to do, right? Because they have like the day off from filming." And Doug says, "That's a good thing, like go out and enjoy your life and do something else." And after some time passes, he's like, "All right, Griffin, it's time to start shooting." Because I feel like just beforehand, right, he gets this amazing idea, like, "Oh, what if I rewrite the script and all?" And I say, instead of um, Griffin picking up the gun, Anna's the one who picks up the gun, and she starts doing cool stuff. And Griffin eventually says, "Why don't we just call this movie Anaconda?" With the big emphasis on Anna, because I guess the whole thing starts revolving around her now. And Doug's like, "What are you saying, Griffin? We were in this together. Why don't we start calming this down? I mean," and then Griffin's like, "You wouldn't even be here if it was for me, because I'm the one who got the rights, because apparently the main guy who had it passed away, and then the wife is now widow, and he talked to her, and I guess she gave him the blessing of saying, 'You have the rights, my child. Go on and film now, and make the new Anaconda movie.'" But after some time passes, we see another boat in the exact same location next to their boat, and we see Sony written on it as well. I'm sure the Sony logo is there because this film is produced by Sony, so they can slap their sticker in the film whenever they want to. And then this woman is on the boat. I think she has the microphone thingy. I forgot what you call it, the cone-shaped microphone. And she was like, "We're out here remaking Anaconda. Sony's decided to remake it." She's right. I know, right? Like, no new ideas, eh? And that's where the whole thing starts to fall apart. Doug's like, I thought you had the rights, Griffin, to the Anaconda movie. And Griffin's like, well, not really, It's like, who has the rights to Anaconda? And Doug's like, Sony does. And then Griffin's like, well, who cares about IP? And Doug's like, everyone. I was gonna say Sony cares about IP because it's their IP, but oh well, and Doug fires Griffin, because of this ordeal, right? And to that point, he fires him, and then Griffin's like, oh, I quit, and then he walks away. But Doug, in his mind, I guess, still wants to continue filming this movie when I'm like, it is kind of illegal what they're doing, right? Like, and even Anna's wondering, like, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, we're out here rebooting, remaking, rematching Anaconda. But in Doug's mind, this whole thing is like sort of a spiritual sequel, I guess, even though it doesn't really seem like a follow up to the original Anaconda. More humor moments, I guess. Because the film is satire, but so you don't really expect any horror to happen in this thing. So some more time passes. Griffin's like sad and upset. Claire tries to talk to him and calm him down, but yeah, I mean that doesn't really happen, I guess, eh? So some more time passes, and I guess Griffin's just out there on his own again, because again, this movie is a lot of separation and togetherness, separation, togetherness. So Griffin's off on his own again, and Doug is sort of mad and upset. He's like, "What am I out here? What am I doing?" You know. And eventually, Anna, she's like, every movie needs a twist. So, haha, surprise, surprise, I was the villain all along. I am your father. Moment. I'm kidding. And I was like, what? Because the whole thing, I was like, okay, well, obviously she's not out there. She's not the nice guy. She's not trying to protect no snakes. She's a thief. So, yeah. Because eventually we find out that at first I thought, no, she's protecting them. She's trying to help them, because the bad guys are after them. Paulo and his crew. So, they're trying to get to them because, he thinks maybe that they're working together, but maybe not. I think they're still looking for Anna and only Anna. Because I guess at the start they were all thieves, maybe, and maybe she's one as well. So I guess, are none of them the good guys then? I don't know. It's all, what do you call it? Um, it's all cannon fodder for them, I guess. For the snakes, at least, anyways. So yeah, some more time starts to pass by, and eventually, they find out that Anna was the bad guy, I guess, because she was also a thief. Because when Jack Black's opens the bag, Doug McAllister finds, okay, yeah, nope, she's a bad person as well. And at first, he takes the bag and boom, he drops it in the water, and then they start running while she's chasing after them. Um, and I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure no. Paulo is starting to catch up to them as well, maybe. But then a snake starts to arrive and takes Anna, and I guess she dies. She gets eaten by the snake. Um, so she's dead. She's been killed. Um, and I guess, but Paulo, I think, also does come to the rescue for some time as well. So maybe he is a good guy, maybe. But in Griffin's eyes, because according to Anna's story, he's the bad guy, and he thinks that they're in danger. So he whips out a gun, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna be the hero now, and he shoots Paulo in the leg, I believe, right? So he does appear injured. So he is also angry and upset. And Griffin arrives, but then Doug is really mad at him, like, you idiot, you shot the wrong guy, and he's like, no, I didn't. And yeah, so then they start running, but then I guess the snake also comes and goes after Paulo. So yeah, those people are now down, and you could start to realize this is the point of time where the side characters don't really matter as much. They're just there to be expendable and to be killed by the snakes. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on there. So they head back to the boat. I guess they become friends again, realizing, you know what, let's put the past behind us. Let's go finish filming this movie. But then they see that a lot of stuff has been damaged, a lot of stuff has been ruined. Like, I think Sony's crew, like the stuff that they brought with them to film their version, the legal version of Anaconda, that they're rebooting, has pretty much been destroyed, and they don't know if the crew's safe or not. So they start to get worried. So they start to settle down for a little bit, but while they're going through the forest, a snake comes and picks up Doug McAllister. So Jack Black has now been snaked, and they're thinking that, oh my goodness, like, what if he's dead, So especially Griffin, because I guess they were really close friends, right? So he's worried, but then Claire's trying to convince him, like, we should move forward. So we have Griffin, Claire, and Kenny, the three of them trying to move forward and being like, you know, um, we have to do this. But I think beforehand, a snake comes and bites Doug. I think I skipped that portion. But if you guys remember what happened there, that is what happened. And yeah, they start trying to get to the other side of the forest, but then they realize that there's this really long anaconda sitting across, and they're like, yeah, no, we need bait. And they're debating who the bait should be, but then they find that Doug is next to them, and they're like, okay, well, if Doug's dead because he was too big for the snake to swallow, why don't we just use him as bait and they can get across safely? All they need to do is put a lot of meat next to him, because the pork is also, the pig is um, on his head as well. So they're trying to make him seem really appetizing, like a really nice meal for the snake, or, and then, they can get across safely. But after some time, Doug wakes up and they realize, oh shoot, what have we done? Because they also put an animal into his mouth. Because, the more dead meat, the better. Um, and so yeah, he wakes up and he starts to run, and they're like, "Oh shoot, man! Like run for your life, I guess, because the snake is coming after you." So that is what happens. And Doug's like, "What happened? Who put this in me?" And he was like, "No, it was Carlos only." Yeah, I think maybe afterwards he gets bitten. After that ordeal happens, I'm not sure which event happened first. But I do know that he does get bitten by a spider. I'm sure it's all pretend, but showing the fact that, if they got an actual Australian spider, because they filmed it in Australia, that would have really been something, eh? No? Anyway, so yeah, no, that is what happened. And Kenny does play a role in, I guess, helping save Doug. So, yeah. Eventually they are still running, they're like, okay, well, the Sony crew is pretty much gone. They don't really know what's happening to them. Their lives are also in danger, but at least the four of them are together. But then they do get back into a dangerous spot. But of course, Ice Cube comes in to save the day. The War of the World's Goat has returned. No, I'm kidding. Kidding. I did watch the Tom Cruise version of it as well, some time back. I don't think that I watched it. I thought it was okay, but nothing that I want to be like, this is what I want to revisit. The only thing I liked about it is I was like, this is where Tom Cruise really looked like sort of like a dad, I guess, but still able to do those action sequences, you know. But yeah, no, I guess times have changed since then. No, yeah. And Doug asks Ice Cube like, okay, well, how was your movie supposed to end? Like, what was your final third act, right? And Ice Cube is like, oh well, we didn't figure that out. The script wasn't finished. And Doug's like, what? You guys shoot with incomplete scripts? And Ice Cube's like, welcome to Hollywood, baby. Like, yeah, this is what we do. I love these like satire moments because it's kind of like Tropic Thunder. You're making a movie within a movie, and it's like, first we were out to film Anaconda, now we're literally in Anaconda, so yeah, no, they've always been in Anaconda. So these like fourth wall meta jokes they're alright. I would say they're maybe a little bit cheap, but you do what you want to do, I guess. So they're like, alright, we need to find a way to kill the snake once and for all, and because there's also some pyro work as well, right? And Ice Cube revealed he doesn't know too much about the pyro stuff because the people who did know are maybe dead or they're gone. So Ice Cube, he gives their crew a gun and he's like, "Stay gangster, y'all." And it's just super funny just seeing Ice Cube's quick little cameo, and he ventures off, and we don't see him again, right? But of course, they do try to get in a couple quick group selfies as well. And Ice Cube's like, "Don't you dare post that onto social media." On Twitter or whatever, but if you know, you know. So yeah, they're out there we got Doug and Griffin, the good old squad, the duo has returned. So they're out there in a vehicle and trying to kill the snake in the super cool way. At first, it doesn't work, but that's because Kenny forgot to turn the machine thing on, and afterwards it starts working, and they escape just in the nick of time, of course, and a bunch of explosions happen, and the anaconda has died. Except that is exactly not true at all. That did not happen. The snake's still alive. So then Doug comes. He takes his world's greatest Doug trophy and he uses it to kill the anaconda. Stabs right through it, piercing its skin, and the anaconda has now died. Only its head part, I guess, was still alive, or that was the one that was coming after them. Anyways, because its body was chopped up into pieces at that point in time, right? So we were nearing the end of the film, so something like this was going to happen. And I was wondering, like while this was going on, like are they recording this? Did they get any of that? Like, they could have used some scenes if like it was someone else. But I guess that's not what they wanted to do anyways, so that didn't end up happening. And yeah, the team is safe, secure. Everyone who matters, I guess, anyways, is alive. And yeah, then a few scenes later, the curtain roll happens, I guess, curtain call, whatever you want to call it. Because they're like, yeah, that's how the film wraps up. Because later we see Doug and Griffin on a stage presenting their version of the movie Anaconda. And I guess they were at some film festival or something, maybe, I don't know, because they were trying to make Anaconda indie style, or, like low budget and all that, but I don't think maybe that's what ended up happening, because again, legal copy, they did not get permission from Sony at all to do this. So yeah, no, wasn't looking too good for them there, but I guess some people were able to watch it. And yeah, they got some notoriety and recognition, which is always a good thing, I guess. And yeah, that's what happens there. And afterwards, we see what happens because this was totally not legal. Ice Cube does also find out that I guess it was Kenny, maybe, I'm not entirely sure, but one of them posted the group selfie which they took, including him, and he's not happy about it, and he's like, delete this right away. And it may have been Kenny, I think, who was like, I have no idea how to delete it, let it just stay online. And then we find out, like what happens afterwards. Griffin has been allowed to continue his role in the long-running show that he was on for multiple seasons. Was it Squad or Squad? I'm not sure. Something like that, no, right? But if you see, like, he also made his way into the poster cover of the show, but very small, very in the back, so his face was clearly not in the front of it. But I guess he got something, so yeah. What else? Kenny, something did happen to him as well. If you know, you know. And as far as for Claire, she was going through her divorce. I'm not sure what happened to her afterwards, because yeah, she's made some wild decisions clearly, and she also agreed to go with them and film the movie Anaconda. So yeah, her judgment maybe has improved, I guess. Not sure, or if she still continues to make those kinds of decisions. And Doug, his life has been like filming wedding videos and editing them, I guess. But then someone reaches his door and asks him, was he the one who clearly made the non-permitted illegal version of Anaconda, which people saw, which they did not get the rights by Sony, because I think after some time they were required and authorized by law, legally speaking, to take that thing down. So Doug's like, yeah, it was me. I was the one who was involved. He's getting sad. But then the lady, I guess she takes her glasses off. She's like, I'm some sort of agent maybe or something. And she was like, yeah, I really enjoyed that film you made. Would you consider making more of that stuff? And Doug's like super excited because he gets to be the white Jordan Peele. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, that's pretty much how the film ends. And then the credits roll Shortly afterwards, we do get a quick little scene realizing that Carlos Santiago is still alive, right? Because I guess he is a good guy. He was a good guy. He wasn't a bad guy for sure. So he's still alive, very much so. And yeah, left alone by himself in the um, Amazon rainforest. And yeah, that is pretty much where the movie ends. And yeah, I really like that scene. My personal favorite scene was where Ice Cube came in and they played Back in Black by AC/DC. That scene was just hysterical. Anyways, I've pretty much explained what happens in the entire film. So now what I'm gonna do is this has been a very long video, eh? All right, I gotta start wrapping things up here. The film was only like 90 minutes long, and I explained it in about half that much time. Quick thoughts. Again, I thought it was gonna be like sort of Jurassic Park, Jurassic World thing where Anna's sort of a good guy. She's out there trying to protect the snakes, and you had like Paulo and Astrogas who's trying to capture or kill them. But in the end, none of that ended up happening. I was completely wrong about it. So my thought was, again, I'm happy this was a 90-minute movie. Things happened quickly. The pacing was pretty much perfect throughout. Not a lot of horror, more so comedy, very satirical film as I mentioned earlier, but as expected if you've seen the trailers. So check. The bars were pretty much met along those ends, and again the comedy, it did shine through. I felt going in, I'd almost seen the entire thing just by the trailers and seeing its shorter runtime, but I'm like, okay, I still don't know how everything will pan out, like the before and after, and how we're gonna get to certain places. It did kind of feel like Jumanji at certain times. Maybe that was just the Jack Black being in a forest thing that was getting into me. I don't know. Um, Again, Jack Black, Paul Rudd putting it together in a comedy movie is just leading to some comedy gold stuff right over there. So yeah, I think that was a pretty good formula they wanted to try out because they'd done films together, and I thought I was like, yeah, no, this I guess just makes sense. Because even in the movie itself, they mentioned it's been some time since they've seen each other. I don't know if that was a reference to like real life as well, but I'm not sure. Because now Jack Black, all I know him for is Jumanji and Kung Fu Panda. I don't think he does really too many other acting roles. And for Paul Rudd especially, once you're in Marvel, you think Ant-Man. You think of the one role that they're in. Unless you're RDJ and a few others. They're free from that um, typecast thing, I guess. But anyways, what else? I mean, yeah, those bars were pretty much checked for me. Comedy was great. Really enjoyed that stuff as well. Not too much horror, as I mentioned earlier. So feel free to check it out with the kids and all. Nothing to be really too worried about, except for a couple scenes here and there. So PG-13 rating is perfectly agreeable by my ends. And yeah, I think that's about it, you guys. Um, as far as rating goes, which is I feel like what some of you guys may be here for, it was a good movie. I did enjoy it, of course. And if it's a good movie, it gets a C rating, 7 out of 10 from me. So 7. Yep. I feel like that's perfectly encapturing everything from beginning to middle to end. 7 out of 10 is pretty much the threshold, and yeah, it exactly met it. Neither did it over exceed or under exceed my expectations at all. It felt like it perfectly exceeded it, so it gets a passing score by my end. Just feels fair. There were ways to improve it. I feel like you could have made it a bit more impactful. They could have added some themes into it as well, I guess. But at the end of the day, that's pretty much what you're gonna get from me anyways. But that's about it, you guys. Let me know what you thought of Anaconda down in the comments below. Again, leaving a like and subscribing to the channel really does help me out as well. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Eagle Reactor is out. Take care. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.